Joining us now is Michael Oren, former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Mr. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Really appreciate it. I want to talk to you about some new polling that CNN has that shows a dramatic drop in American support for Israeli military actions in Gaza, with just 23% of Americans now saying Israel's actions have been fully justified. And that represents a 27-point drop from polling that was taken shortly after the Hamas attack on Israel, October 7th. I just want to get your thoughts on those numbers and what you think they mean.
Well, first of all, it's good to be with you. And they are disturbing numbers, certainly. And they mean several things to me. One is that Israel has to do a much, much better job of explaining its position to Americans and to the world in general. Israel has to keep doing what it does to minimize as much as it can civilian casualties in Gaza. But at the end of the day, we're still left with a situation where an enemy, Hamas, which seeks our destruction, which committed the atrocities of October 7th, and I see the initial poll sold 50% in October. I wonder if those same Americans who were given this poll now were reminded of what happened on October 7th, that 1,200 Israelis, that'd be the equivalent of about 44,000 Americans, would be killed in a matter of hours, and not just killed, but raped and beheaded and burnt, and 252 Israelis, the equivalent of about 50,000 Americans, would be dragged into captivity. And what would America do dealing with an enemy that is hiding behind its civilian population under mosques, hospitals, and schools? What do you do? And at the end of the day, you know, if Hamas were to give up its hostages, our hostages, give them home, there are 20 who are left alive, 30 bodies which they hold, the war would end. Very simple. And we have to ask ourselves a very simple question. Last night, my kids, my grandkids were in a bomb shelter. And that's pretty much the norm here. And I'd ask those same Americans, the same, you know, whatever majority said that they think that Israel is overreacting to this, what would they do if your children, your grandchildren were in bomb shelters every night? What would you do to protect them? And my guess is, I think they'd have a very different answer indeed.
And we saw the largest drop in support among Democrats, but we saw drops across the board. Independents here in America, also from Republicans. Did that surprise you to see it across the board like that?
It's dismaying. And listen, I don't care whether it's Republicans or Democrats, that there's a fall off of support for Israel among Americans generally. It's a source of concern for us. And one of the things we have to fight against is something basically that appeared in your last report, where you're quoting Hamas sources. That's the Gaza Health Authorities, which you don't know who they are. Nobody knows who they are. We know they're Hamas, who are saying X number of Palestinians are being killed. The Israeli army says we have no idea. No one was being, there was no live fire accident or incident anywhere around where Hamas is saying it happened. But CNN is reporting it as if it's real. And to me, night after night of that type of information, is certainly to have an impact on American policy.
But Mr. Ambassador, I mean, look, you're right. Hamas is still holding those hostages, and that's what Israel, in part, has been asking. If they'll just give them back, the war can come to an end. At the same time, there is very real and legitimate reporting about children that are starving to death or being killed that can't get access to food or aid or medicine. And that's coming from, you know, aid workers we've talked to who are on the ground there, and some of our colleagues reporting. And so what do you think Americans should make of that? Some Americans, I think to what end? There doesn't seem like there's anything left to do there in Gaza. There seems to be so much destruction, I think, is kind of the thinking of some of these Americans.
And their thinking is right. The situation in Gaza is beyond tragic. Every Palestinian death, every Palestinian casualty is a tragedy. The question is, what's the alternative? All right, you say, you end the suffering of the Palestinians. Everyone wants to see the ending of the suffering of the Palestinians, but in a way that enables Hamas to come out to declare victory, to reconquer the Gaza Strip, which won't be good for the Palestinians either, believe me, and to mount the next October 7th, which they say they'll do 10,000 times until Israel is destroyed. So ending the war now just means a bigger war, you know, a year or two from now, at a time when, you know, Iranian-sponsored rockets are still falling on this country, and our kids and grandchildren are still in bomb shelters. So nobody wants to be in this situation. Everyone wants to see a ceasefire. Everyone wants to see the Gaza Strip demilitarized. Everyone wants to see the hostages brought home. Everybody wants this, except for one party, and that's Hamas. Ask them, ask the same Americans, okay, get Hamas to give up the hostages, get them to give up their guns, and the war ends. The war ends literally in a second, not in a week, not in a day, in a second. But that's not being presented here.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will see if those talks can gain more momentum. But Ambassador Michael Oren, we always really do appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.